Off another blowout win. That's what they do as of late. Josh Allen threw for 4 touchdown passes to 4 different wide receivers. If I'm not mistaken, the Buffalo Bills lead the National Football League in different receivers catching touchdowns. Andy, correct me if I'm wrong, with 6 of them. What that simply means, well, I'll let Josh Allen tell you.
You know, it's a fun and wonderful thing when you got a bunch of guys that don't care about the stats, they don't care about the touchdowns. And again, I think throughout practice, we just had this mindset of like, hey, let's just do things the right way.
Hey, you got a bunch of guys, he said.
I don't think so. They're asking her shots fired because they called them a bunch of guys. What do you guys think?
I wasn't saying that.
Okay.
We were talking shots fired at Stephon Diggs, not at a bunch of guys.
Okay. Yeah, there was.
Catch up.
Well, remember, I asked Josh
I was like, hold up. Don't be saying that.
Josh came on this show, obviously friend of the show, bigger friend of Shady McCoy's. He came on the show Friday, and I asked him that exact question. I said, hey, what is it about, Stephon Diggs? Now you just got a bunch of He's like, now we got some dogs. Don't get it twisted. We got some dogs. So that was Josh Allen's words here in the facility, friend of the show. But Chase, do you think the Bills can win a Super Bowl with a bunch of guys approach?
Absolutely, yeah. I think that Josh Allen is a better football player without Stephon Diggs on the football field. Hot take or not, that's just the truth of it.
Chase, say that to the can. Don't look at me. Look, where's one shot?
Yeah, I think Josh Allen's a better player without Stephon Diggs on that roster. I really do. You want to get in my shot with me? You agree because you're the receiver?
I just been saying that, dog.
Look, I'm just going to pure film perspective because I went back and watched all the games last night for the Buffalo Bills because I wanted to see what was going on with Josh Allen. Like, why are they so successful with a bunch of guys, right? Shakir is going to be a star, I think. He's on track for about 1,000 yards receiving. James Cook, bona fide superstar. He's the best back he's had since he's been there other than LaShawn McCoy, right? But Josh Allen's doing more at the line of scrimmage than I've ever seen him do. They're breaking the huddle. They're getting to the field of play 17, 18 seconds. They're doing a lot of shifts, a lot of motions. They're putting a lot of it on Josh Allen to get them in and out of the right play. He's handling run game Mike IDs. He's handling kill plays, which is a pass, go to a run, or a run, go to a pass. And he reminds me a lot of what Patrick Mahomes did last year when they lost Tyreek Hill and that receiver crew kept dropping passes for Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes got better as the season progressed as a football player. That was a scary thought for the NFL because he was handling everything at the line of scrimmage. In today's age, where quarterbacks just want to get to the line, read a wristband, throw it to the open guy, that's not really working. You got to have a smart quarterback. So I just think I know he's getting better at that, and it's making him a better player because he's not worrying about throwing to a #1 target. He's spreading the football around. No greater detail than 10 Bills receivers last game caught a pass. That's what I love seeing him on the field, is he's getting better.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. Where I don't agree with you is eventually that bunch of guys' approach will run out. I believe in the National Football League, you will need dogs. I will tell you all the story of when it first hit my mind just how much you need dogs, and shout out to what the Bills are doing. It was 2013. Philadelphia Eagles are in the playoffs. We are at home playing the New Orleans Saints. Now, it wasn't about that game because I knew regardless of if we won that game, we were not winning the next one. James, you asked Acho, how the hell you know that? Because the Seattle Seahawks existed in the midst of the Legion of Boom. And while I looked at our roster and said, okay, we got LaShawn McCoy. I believe Jeremy Maclin was hurt, but I think we still had Deshaun Jackson. We had Jason Peters. I looked at the Seahawks roster, and I said they got Bobby Wagner in his prime. They got Cam Chancellor in his prime. They got Earl Thomas in his prime. They got Richard Sherman in his prime. They got Marshawn Lynch in his prime. They got Russell Wilson in his prime. I said they have more dudes than we got. So regardless of what happens in this New Orleans Saints game, somebody gonna face the Seahawks.
Who was the
We lost to the Saints. We had Nick Foles.
And they had
Russell Wilson. So we lose to the Saints, but the Saints go on to play the Seahawks. Seahawks win. Seahawks go on to play, I believe, with the Atlanta Falcons. Seahawks win. Then the Seahawks go on to play the Denver Broncos in the Super Bowl and have the 4th biggest blowout in Super Bowl history. Because the Seahawks had guys. And the Broncos had Peyton Manning, and the Broncos had Demaryius Thomas, God rest his soul, and the Broncos had Julius Thomas, I believe, at tight end, and the Broncos had Von Miller. It didn't matter. The Seahawks had them dudes. Eventually, if you got a bunch of guys, you're going to face a team that got a bunch of dogs. And when they got dogs and you got guys, the dogs will win.
Yeah, but that's the same thing. You could flip that, though.
Talk to me.
Yeah.
The Niners had dogs the last couple of times. They've been to a Super Bowl, right?
Yeah. Chiefs had dogs, too, though.
Okay, so let's just stick to last year, then. The Niners had way more dogs than the Kansas City Chiefs.
Correct.
You understand what I'm saying?
But
Offense, defense,
But the Seahawks still had dogs.
But what dogs we talking about though? Because there's all type of dogs in the yard. I'm a dog lover,
That's what I'm
right?
saying. That is,
You know what I mean?
that
There's
is
all type of dogs, right? And I think the Niners probably had some pit bulls.
They had some Rots, too.
Had some Rots.
Had some Rots.
Some German shepherds.
Okay, so what is the other
But
one?
they didn't have no King Corsos though. Oh, they had none of those. And one for the Chiefs is a big one.
15? Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then the coach, though, the owner, though, is a big dog. So there's a difference. It's a difference, James Jones. It's a difference now. Love me some dogs.
Man,
What
listen,
kind of dogs in the yard?
Let me stop.
but like to Shady's point though, it's all about the main dog.
Okay.
You understand what I'm saying? And that's why I believe they can win a championship, because it's all about the main dog. One of my mentors, my coach that raised me, he always thought like he was just this phenomenal coach, right? That he can take any player at receiver and turn them, Keith Williams, Coach Doug, he could turn them into a really good receiver, right? Coach myself, Devontae, and untrained Tyreek, Mike, a lot of dudes,
Names,
right?
though.
Yeah, so a lot of dudes, right? So he always used to tell me, he said, you ever been to the suburbs? Nice restaurant, ambiance is nice, but it ain't no line to get in the restaurant. But like, it's fine, like it's nice, take pictures, all that. He said, you ever been to the hood? Restaurant look toe up, but the line wrapped around the block? Because it ain't the restaurant, the ambiance, it's the chef. It's the chef in there cooking. And he always just say, I'm the chef. Josh is the chef, man. And Josh is playing at an MVP level. What's the name of the dog, the big dog?
King Corso.
That's what Josh is playing like right now. So if Josh continues to play like that with a bunch of guys, the line gonna be wrapped around the block, and they got a chance to go win a championship.
I love some good food, so let me know that restaurant. And I love Josh Allen more than anybody on his desk. But I'm gonna say no, because this is a superstar league, right? If you look at the last Super Bowls, you got some quarterbacks and some good players to go with them, right? You keep talking about the Chiefs and the Niners. They had Patrick Mahomes, they had Andy Reid, but then they got Travis Kelce. All year, he didn't really play well. The playoffs, he showed up, put the cape on, right? You need them type of guys, because what happens when we play against a superstar team that's really, really good, that's experienced, that wins? These guys, a bunch of guys that we don't really know nothing about, how they gonna respond? I'll give you an example. So if we look at the Bills right now, on offense and defense. So they played the Cardinals, the Dolphins, and the Jaguars. The Cardinals haven't been good for a long time, right? The quarterback's always up and down, young team, right? They lose that game. Cool. The Dolphins, Tua's out the game, he's hurt, right? Defense is not really that good. They win that game. The Jaguars, their starting quarterback is Trevor Lawrence. That's enough said right there. You go on the road, right? Now you playing the Ravens, who's a good team, right? The Texans, who's a good team, and the Jets are all good teams. They got superstars and they have good players. I want to see how these bunch of guys play against them, because it's not the playoffs, but it's, I guess, a sense that it's close to playoffs. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because of the type of team they're playing. I want to see how the bunch of guys play. Because Josh Allen's going to dominate.
But my thing is there are a bunch of guys right now. Speak about Greg Jennings, Jordy Nelson, Donald Driver, James Jones, right? But let's just keep Greg Jennings, Jordy Nelson, James Jones. We was all young. We were a bunch of guys. A couple years later, we turned out to be really good players, but we still were dominating, winning football game with a bunch of guys. So that's why I'm saying you can win football games with a bunch of guys. We don't know what Keon Coleman and them boys gonna turn into in a couple years. But right now they're a bunch of guys. But I was a bunch of guys at one point. We won a lot of games.
And I heard that. But I feel like a guy like so. First of all, Keon Coleman's not even the number one receiver right now, right? It's Shakur is, and I like the way he plays. But I'm just a big guy on like, all right. Because Henry always says, yo, I need my best from my best players. I go against their best players. So now it's like, what happens when Sauce Gardner, you know what, Coach, I got Shakur. Yeah, I got him.
But that's what I'm saying, the quarterback, though, Shady.
What did you say? You said 17 is the chef, right? What was your
17 is the chef.
He's the chef. You know who the GM of the restaurant is, though?
Who the GM?
Joe Brady.
Joe?
Offensive coordinator. All right, look at the stats from Week 11 since 2023. This is the secret sauce of the Buffalo Bills. Win-loss, 9-1. They're first in the NFL. Points per game, 30 points per game. First in the NFL. Rush yards a game, 140 yards. Third down percentage. They're first in all these major categories because when they fired Ken Dorsey, you know what the GM of the restaurant, Joe Brady, said? Hey, we're going to run the ball. We're going to take care of you. You're not going to turn the football over. So that needs to be discussed. They lead the NFL in rush attempts a game since he took over. And you got Josh Allen back there, chef, is cooking. You don't think it's taken a lot of pressure off him to not have to spread the ball just to one guy. He can spread it around. He can play football. He doesn't have to worry about the consequences of not throwing to a Stephon Diggs.
So if they lose this game, right? If they lose to the Ravens on the road, so good defense, right? Good team, Lamar Jackson, all that. Y'all gonna feel the same?
I think
going
it's how
forward?
it looks, though.
Yeah, it's how it's always perception, right? How it looks.
It'll be
It was close or blowout.
It's going to be a good one, though, because this will be the first test of, like, yo, do y'all have enough?
Yeah.
Do y'all have enough? Shady, you